evening and welcome to another IADC update. Yes, this is the Thursday after we have gone through the tropical storm Matthew, and we are on site here at the Airside International Airport. We're going to bring you up to date on how the airport, how the project weathered the storm. Now, we know that there are people who have been wondering what happened at the Airside International Airport. Did it withstand in a really good way the storm that passed? How did it cope with it? Is it still sound? All of those things some people are questioning, and some people are just happy to hear that really and truly there was nothing really to report about that affected the project. But I'm not an engineer, so I'm gonna have somebody who knows more about that and who can speak more to that, speak to us and tell us all that we need to know here at the Airside International Airport. For that, I'm going to introduce you to our engineer who is in charge of the landside facilities here at the Airside International Airport, Mr. Romel Oliver. Good evening and welcome to the IADC update.
Good evening, Jen.
Now, this evening we are going to talk a bit about the project and how it coped with the recent tropical storm. I think this is the first major, so to speak, tropical storm that we have had since we've had the structure in place here at the Airside International Airport. You're in charge of the landside facilities, including the terminal building, control tower, the cargo building, all of the buildings basically here at the Airside International Airport. So you're best placed to tell us how the buildings were able to cope structurally and if everything is still in place here at the Airside International Airport.
Okay. Well, when we knew this storm was approaching, we started to put things in place as you would to protect your assets against the weather. So, we did things like ensuring that all the drains were cleared, packing away loose stuff from around the site that can be taken away in the wind. The jet bridges, we tied down the jet bridges and anchored them into the apron, so they no strong wind wouldn't lift them up. Luckily we didn't get much wind with the last storm, but we did get a lot of rain. A lot of water was dumped on the site in a very short period of time, and but it's pleased to know that when we came at the Thursday morning, just after the rain was still falling actually. The rain fell way into Thursday morning. All the drainage around the terminal building, the access road, the parking lot where we are now, they function perfectly. The water was evacuated from the roads, from the parking area, from around the terminal building, went into the main drain and went through the 191 without any problems. Came to the terminal building, there was absolutely no flooding, no water inside. I think someone left one window open, some rain came in there, wet the ground. But apart from that, with all the rains that came, there was no damage whatsoever, no flooding anywhere anywhere in or around the terminal building, parking lot, the access roads, and so forth. The other buildings, the control tower, as you know, is located on top of the hill, so the water, the drainage systems that we have there, the water is evacuated right away. So there really is not much concern at the control tower. The fire station as well, we have the drains in place around the fire station, and all indications seem that the drainage systems work perfectly. Everything was evacuated away from the buildings to the drains and to the 191 crossing, which is what really takes all this water from the buildings, the apron. The 191 basically took everything and carried it down to the sea.
The cargo building is a little in a hole. It's a little below a bank where water would be coming over. How did that fare?
The cargo, well, as you know, the cargo building, although the cargo building is complete, and the airside of the cargo building is complete. When the storms, when the rain hit us, we were actually in the process of doing work on the curb side or the land side of the cargo building. That's your maneuvering area for the trucks and so. So that work was going on there. We were, I think, at subgrade level, just getting ready to put asphalt. So, but the cargo building is about 4 feet. The finished floor of the cargo building is about 4 feet from the outside, the finished floor outside. So it's high. So it's very unlikely that water will ever get into it. If water was to get at that level in the cargo building, then we have some serious flooding around here. But so there was no problem with water actually getting into the cargo buildings. The areas where we were doing work on the landside of the cargo buildings, they will have to, of course, after the rain, they will have to go back and recompact and do back that work because it's a work ongoing. But generally, the drains around the car, because we installed the drains first and they worked well. Yeah, so it's basically going back, recompacting that soil and paving.
Okay, so I'm hearing from you that the structural integrity of all the buildings is sound.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. As I say, the guys that designed these drains, they did a very good job. And it's amazing how fast, and all that rain is amazing how fast the water is evacuated away from the runway, the aprons, and the buildings.
Right, I think that would have been the main concern, because you hear people speaking and there's some people writing who really don't know what they are talking about in their writings. I mean, they have done no proper investigation. They're just going on assumption, and to me, trying to get the public to question the structural integrity of the project. And you have people talking about stuff like water seeping under the ground by the runway and all. You hear the things. Should we take this seriously?
Well, I mean, everyone is entitled to opinion, whether professional or not, But I say from what we have observed here and what we can see here, when rains fall, and we have had a serious testing last week, of heavy showers of rain falling in a short period of time. And it's you come here during the rain and you can see clearly how the water is evacuated, and anyone looks at the 191, you can see all that water going through the 191. So and within 5-10 minutes after the rain stop, you can start to see from the center line, you can start to see it gets dry going out, and away. Anyone could have come down here the Thursday. I mean, anyone can drive down into the parking lot here, and you would see the building hasn't been affected, none of the other buildings have been affected by heavy rain. I mean, I am not going to say that there is nothing that Mother Nature can throw at us that we can.
Well, that would be foolish to do.
I'm not going to dare Mother Nature.
Yeah.
But I think the test we had last week gave us a good idea of where we are, and it's not impossible for us to be affected by nature.
But that's expected. It's not impossible. There is always a possibility that something can happen.
Exactly. But as I always say, if something that bad happens to St. Vincent, that that we are seriously affected here at Airside. So, for example, we have a tsunami or a storm surge that reaches the runway. I mean, the runway is at the lowest point is 12 meters above sea level, about 150 meters away from the shoreline. I'm not going to say that it's impossible that nature can't send something that will affect it, but if God forbid it does, I mean, what's going to become a place like Byron, Georgetown, and Connacht?
It means that we have some serious problems in the country.
That will be the least of our worries.
That's right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Romel. You've heard it, and he is giving you the engineer's view of the landside facilities. We should be joined by Aluko Dublin, who is another engineer here on the project, who will be talking to us about the airside facilities, the apron, the runway, the channels, the 191, the 220, how they were able to stand up to the torrential rains that we would have had last week. So don't go away, we're going to be right back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We have moved over to the 220 channel, and I know quite a few people were wondering how the 220 channel worked, if it worked well during the storm, if it was able to channel the water right back down to the Argyle Ocean. I have with me engineer Aluko Dublin, who would have worked on this project with Professor Leonardo Perez, and he would have also worked on the 191 channel with Perez as well. So he's in a good position to tell us how the 220 channel was able to live up to the expectations of those who constructed it. Aluko, thanks for joining us. We are looking at the 220 channel. The water is flowing through nicely there. Can you just tell us how the 220 channel, if it really did what it was supposed to do, and how well it worked? Just explain to us how well it worked during the storm.
What we did a design, right? Calculate the volume, and then we increased that volume. So, for example, instead of the 5 or so channels that we would have needed, we have 7 channels, because we did take into account some phenomena that might happen and blockage, right? And we don't want repeat of the constant scenario you see at E.T. Joshua. So as it is there, it is over-designed, but for a reason, right? So even with the rains that we have had more rains than that, you know. So it wasn't really a problem for the structure to drain the water, right? So we didn't have any problem, any major problem, although we had blockage at I think 2 of them.
Yeah, and we're looking at it now. We can see exactly where the 2 had some stone build-up, but the maintenance has kicked in, and that has been cleared.
Yeah, that has been cleared, and we're still doing maintenance on the site, right? But if you were to take a look at the site in general, you would see how well the drainage has worked on the general site. So we didn't have much of a problem in terms of flooding on the site, right? We had the actual surface runoff, but the drainage on the site worked fine. Yeah, we didn't have any problem on the site. We could have actually walked the next day.
Okay. Now with the 191 channel, how did that fare?
With one of the channels we could have drained the water there, but we put 2 channels, so I don't anticipate any problems in that channel also. The water that you see on the road is because we're still using the road to the office, right? So there's a connection that we have to make. We just left the road, we diverted the water to a smaller channel. That channel as is today is insufficient for the that amount of water, right? But
it would flow on the road. But that is outside the airport fence.
That is outside of the airport fence, and it is a road that is only used by us, right? Just about 6 meters of earth is left to be cut to connect it to the downstream channel that we have already created.
And we can't cut that now because we are still using that particular road. Okay, so whenever there is a new access for those going to the office, I would imagine that would be done.
Yeah, and it is not really a problem, because we would have water on the road. In a case like yesterday, the tropical storm where there was that large amount of water, of rainfall. But for normal rainfall, we wouldn't have a problem. So it's not really an issue.
And the aprons and the runway, everything still intact?
Yeah, everything has its drainage designed, and it was a good test for the structure that was designed and installed for the drainage system. And if you take a look at the site, you would see that it worked fine.
It worked really well, because the site is like very, very dry right now, and if it contained water rather than running it off, we would have still seen a lot of muddy patches all over the place right now.
And you would have seen a lot more activity on the site in terms of heavy equipment working to replace soil that was washed away and stuff like that, right? So the drainage on site, it worked to expectation.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Aluko. Thanks for joining us here on the IADC update. We are going to move from here now and go across to the Kyo Village to see exactly how those huts withstood the test of Tropical Storm Matthew. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Thanks again for staying with us. I am over here at the Kyo Village, where we have 2, 4, 5 huts still standing. Yes, like you, I too was wondering, I wonder, we're having some winds, we're having lots of rain. Let's see how they fare. But we are back on site, and they have fared really, really well. During the construction, Erasto did say that they were building them to withstand a certain category of hurricane, and so the tropical storm that we had, and not much wind on this side, they really stood up. They stood up well, and I went inside, and they're still good inside, still dry, still nice. So things are good here at the Kyo site. The work has resumed here. We have some guys now planting some plants on the edge of the hillside there to prevent the soil from washing away and prevent the bankside from eroding. And we also have the beginning of the drainage system on the site itself being put in. Of course, they had some drainage system that they put in inside the hut and around it, so that when water falls off, it will not go inside and wet down the place, but it would be drained off. And that worked well, because if you look inside the huts, they're all dry. So the external drainage out here, they have started that work. Now, just to go back, from at the 220 channel, if you were following and you were looking, when you would have seen the photos, and you would have seen persons in the river, they catching their tree. Now remember, one of the recommendations from the EIA study was that we build in such a way to protect the tree population, so that the persons out here who would be farming these trees for their livelihoods will be able, when it's tree season, to come back and catch their tree. Last week we saw a lot of people down at the river mouth catching their tree, and we are still seeing persons even upstream, because some tree would have swum upstream, and they were there doing their thing this morning. So the channels really are serving their purpose, and the recommendations were followed, and people are reaping the benefits. Now, one of the objectives of showing you that things withstood the test of time on the side is to let you know that when this airport starts operation, if we have a storm or hurricane, you would see that systems are in place to ensure that the water runs off properly, the buildings are structurally sound, so that even if the airport has to be closed until the passage of a storm or hurricane, the downtime to restarting the operations should be minimal, because we really have a good thing in place here at the Argyle International Airport. So this is all we have for you today. We will continue to update you on what has happened here at the Argyle International Airport as we continue to work towards the operation, hopefully before the end of this year, of the Argyle International Airport. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.